For us, we're a design agency, and because we move at a very fast pace, and I guess the core team are also on strategy on projects, but we're also the ones that talk to new clients. It is a challenge to be making ourselves available for the not just sales generation, but then also for talking to clients and then executing on those. So I think working with the FiveRings team has been really helpful to just take away that load and that burden from us, and not also load some of our internal teams that we do this for other companies. We can actually just allow the FiveRings team to go and to do that, bring in those leads for us, and then we can just have to worry about just reeling them in and making sure that we find the right type of companies and engage with those guys. 500 Designs as an agency, and that's a very successful company, and that one we had nailed down as inbound and referrals. We've never really done sales for 500 Designs, and I don't think we don't necessarily need to. But for the new company we'd set up, which was Design Force, we'd never actually done direct sales before. So on that company, we were just mainly focusing on inbound and then referrals as well. But because of the volume that we needed for that, it's a different sort of business. So we started looking at doing some internal sales ourselves initially. But finding somebody who is experienced enough who could come in and just take that part of the process and own it and get us success in that area was challenging. So we didn't need one person, we kind of needed three, but we weren't really in the we weren't wanting to spend that much on three internal resources, not understanding if this direct sales approach was going to be high converting for us, and then obviously worth the return on investment. So I think before we had a limited amount of inbound leads coming through. Afterwards, we're working with FiveRings. We've had a huge increase in the amount of genuine leads that we could work with and communicate what we do and see if there's a good fit to working with those companies. So I think it's really just before it, we didn't have a sales game. It was just base marketing and brand awareness. Afterwards, we had a structured and logical approach to inbound sales. One of your clients, and soon to be another one of your clients, are recommendations through us, and it's for the same reason that we benefit from it ourselves. Is smaller companies that need to move rapidly but want to keep some flexibility in their outgoing. It's an easier reach to spend a smaller fixed amount on working with an external team that is kind of flexible, right? If it's not performing, it can turn it off again. You bring somebody internal and you start spending a lot of money in training and getting the team up to speed, and then if something isn't working, it's a huge kind of, oh crap, we need to steer the ship in a different direction with this particular team, and that's harder to do with internal. If we were working with FiveRings and it didn't work, we could just turn it off and we could easily go and find another team to try something different. Internal is much more difficult to do that. So for companies where we see they need this, and that there's a good fit for the type of leads that you guys can generate for them, basically B2B, then we've been recommending that, don't do it internally. Like a couple of companies who've been saying, don't hire yet. Test it with FiveRings first, and then you'll know who to hire with more kind of intelligence and more real measurable data that you can use to apply to finding the right person. So that'd be the reasons that I typically would advise the companies you work with to use you guys. The majority of the time, I would say caring. So it's not about getting upping the services, it's about delivering value. And so the way to do that is really caring about the clients you work with and making sure that they are happy with the outcomes, and that there's a constant feeling that it's part of the team. And I think that's kind of goes back to the points I mentioned earlier. If an outsourced team doesn't feel like a partner or doesn't feel like they're part of your team, then there's no value there. It becomes something that you can throw away after a while without having too much care to it yourself. But when a company you work with, and this is our ethos, but I think you guys do it as well, when a company you work with shows that care into your success, then you care about them and result. And so therefore, relationship becomes more longer term, and you work together. And so you take those things that are maybe at times, if something is not going perfectly according to plan, you realize that this is not because somebody is doesn't give a shit about it anymore. It's because there's something that is causing the result to change, and now it's about being a partner and working at it to solve that issue together, so that you can continue and get to a point where everybody's feeling, okay, this is working, and we're getting the value we're expecting. So I think, I see that certainly from the founding team and the people we work with, is they seem to really care about the project, and they care about the results of the project. And I think on most of the calls, and definitely in those very early stages, like, it was very, very apparent that caring was there, and there was an excitement around everything. And so, yeah, I think that's how I would describe it, is if I can give it in one word, the one that matters most is probably caring.